members of the leadership team of Sri Sri University, the dynamic deans, head of the departments, faculty members, and all other staff of Sri Sri University.
We acknowledge the presence of all the trustees, chairman of the Art of Living Trust, CEOs, senior Art of Living teachers, Swamiji from Odisha, India, and all across the world. We welcome all the government officials, all the other esteemed guests, and the members of the press who have joined us live. And most importantly, our dearest and precious students and respected parents and guardians. We are overjoyed with your presence and participation. Today is your day as you embark on a new journey, a journey full of adventure, experiences, and new learnings. And we at Sri Sri University are there with you at every step to guide you, to mentor you. And remember, this is your home away from home. Despite the pandemic, Sri Sri University is one of the few universities in the country which went online within 2 days of the lockdown. We finished the curriculum, online examinations, and also declared the results well on time. And we are starting the new academic year for all the new students. In this lockdown period, we had more than 200 online sessions with 3.5 lakh viewership and almost 400 speakers. We stand together. We stand tall with resolute commitment to ensure that your education, your learning continues uninterrupted. The whole team has worked very hard to make this happen. Let's give them a big hand for all the faculty and administrative members, though virtually. Let's give them a big hand to all the staff members, faculty.
Sri Sri University is now running into its 9th academic year since its inception in 2012, where we began with just 46 students and 1 program. And now, with just a span of 9 years, we have 3,500 students across 46 programs and many, many recognitions to our credit. Our students at Sri Sri University call this as one of the happiest campuses of the country, and we are committed to impart excellence in academics. Aimed at blending the best of East and West, Sri Sri University is based on value education, which also emphasizes on spiritual integration with academics. Upholding the values, nurturing and strengthening an individual from within has always remained our focus. Having the base of Global Art of Living Network, Sri Sri University seeks guidance from thought leaders, highly accomplished personalities globally to make this into a center of excellence.
From a rocky quarry land, the university has transformed into a lush green campus, sprawling over 188 acres with over 100,000 trees and over 1 million square feet of built up physical infrastructure, and one of the best digital infrastructure too. It is a home to all of you students from 25 states of India and many countries in the world. Staff members, different flora and fauna, 37 cows, and together we are a happy SSU family. It's a vice-free, multicultural campus and has been the pioneer in championing entrepreneurship in India, in Odisha. In the last 4 years, we had 28 successful startups by our students and 3 unique research centers on climate change, indigenous studies, and peace studies. SSU has been honored with various national and international awards in the past years. To mention a few: Best Innovative University Award. We ranked 12th in India, 416th in the world in UI Green Metric World University Rankings, India's best university in the East India region, Best University Trend-Setting Synthesizer of Tradition and Global Outlook Award presented by then Honorable Minister of HRD, Shri Prakash Javadekar ji. On social media also, we are not very far behind. We rank number 6 on Twitter for university rankings. Despite the lockdown, we have had 90% placements for MBA students. Orion, the cultural festival of Sri Sri University, is ranked as one of the top 10 cultural festivals of Odisha. This is an outcome of dedication and commitment of all the members of SSU, our alumni who are our strength, vision of a leadership team, and the one who inspires and makes it happen through all of us, our lifetime president, Param Pujya Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar ji.
I would now like to talk about our strength and our leader, Mrs. Rajita Kulkarni, President, Shri Shri University, a visionary, a global thinker, an incredibly inspirational leader, a leading educationist and leadership coach, and whose sheer commitment, focus, hard work, and determination has seen Shri Shri University grow from an idea to an institution.
Spoken about Arnab, already you have said many things about him, but I want to say that, I have had the good fortune to know Arnab now for a few years. I can say also personally, professionally, we all know that he's the managing director and editor-in-chief of the Republic Media Network, India's #1 all India news network, which is now beaming to almost 200 million people in India, in English and Hindi, also around the world, Canada, North Africa, Singapore, Middle East, UK, Australia, around the world. Today, Republic TV has been #1 in terms of viewership for every week since its launch, for every week since its launch. I think it says a lot. It's amazing. Also, Arnab launched Republic Bharat, the Hindi news channel, just last year in 2019. And it's already one of the top Hindi news channels in India. And with over 2 decades, Arnab, now of your experience in political journalism and in journalism in general, I think you are using your fierce belief of Indian journalism and Indian journalists to ensure that you are breaking news by breaking the silence on many, many truths that have to be uncovered. Arnab, you are a disruptor, you are an innovator, you are a fierce fighter, that I can say for sure. You are really a crusader. Above all, you are a patriot, a true patriot of India. And you entered and you started this business in a business which has many entry barriers. It has many entrenched interests, deep pockets of people which enable your competition to really be able to do anything that is possible. And in this tough, hostile, and extremely competitive environment, you have become #1 in such a short time. I think it talks a lot about your own vision, your own strategic thinking, your incredible agility as a leader, your courage. I have seen it, experienced it. I have lived it in some ways along with you. And you're really talented and extremely powerful wife, I would say, Samya. And I think it talks to your determination and grit. You are one who has given 2 new verbs to India. Nation wants to know has become a verb, just like Google and Uber has become a verb. Let's debate has become a verb. Our students use it. I know many students all over the country use it, around the world use it. So it is my really incredible pleasure, Anna, my great honor. We have been inviting you many years, but your tough schedule didn't allow you to travel to Bhubaneswar. So in a way, we have to thank this lockdown that virtually now you are with us. We invite you to deliver your commencement address as the chief guest of the 9th commencement day of Shri Shri University, founded and envisioned by Pujya Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar ji. Arnab, we welcome you. We are all ears to you. You can take as long as you want. We are here with you, listening to you, soaking in every word from you. And by the way, Arnab, our students are going to tweet today, Arnab at SSU. They're going to hashtag, trend this hashtag. So looking forward to a lot of learnings and being inspired by you. Over to you, Arnab. Big hand, big hand, big hand.
Thank you. First of all, I want to offer my pranam to Gurudev and Bhanu Didi, who is here with us. My pranam to you, Rajita. Thank you for that very, very warm welcome. And of course, to your powerful address to the Vice Chancellor, Dr. A.K. Singh. Thank you very much. Very inspiring. I speak in a lower voice through the early part of the day so I can shout at night. So I don't know what it is about you, but we'll have to exchange notes after this. And of course, to Rupal and Pankaj for such a beautiful introduction to this wonderful program. And to all the faculty members, the board members, the deans, HODs, students, family members of the students, thank you very much. These are interesting times in which we are meeting. Where I used to love going outside the studio because very often we are shelved within the studio and our entire life is within the studio. And I used to really love going out and meeting people, and those opportunities have become rare. I was really looking forward to coming to your campus, Rajita. And this has been a sort of a strange circumstance in which this is happening. But I'm imagining in my own mind right now, a lot of people in front of me. I see hundreds of participants. So I'm imagining that you're all together. And we are all sharing the same space. Sometimes physical and virtual spaces, I don't know how well they intermingle, but in my own mind, I'm speaking to all of you sitting in one place right now. In my own mind, you're all together and we are all going to have a conversation today. I don't want to bore your students with theory because theory doesn't always teach you the best lesson in life. And what you say in a commencement address, what do you share in a commencement address? So I'm imagining right now that if I were among you and if I was your age, if I was in my teens or just out of my teens, and if I just entered college, the first thing would be I would want to meet my fellow students, not listen to a lecture. I would like to know the space which I am in. And I'm sure that very soon when you have conquered COVID, all your students will be there doing that. And I'm sure at this very moment, all your students, Dr. Ajay Kumar and Rajita, all your students are wishing for that day when they enter your beautiful campus. The sheer description of the campus with its 37 cows, let me tell you, is very intriguing. I would like to be there myself as well. So, I hope, first of all, I want to begin by saying that I hope your dream comes true very soon. And I hope to be there with you on your campus very soon and experience it. Let me tell you, one of my life-changing experiences has been visiting the Art of Living ashram in Bangalore. I felt a great sense of peace. And I was very blessed that Gurudev himself showed me around. And he took me to the fields and he took me to the cow sheds. And it was an incredible experience deep in my heart. So start by saying that I wish to be among you very soon. I want to share with you something that may be useful to you in your life. And then I hope to have a chat with you, because the beauty of the virtual medium is it allows you to have a two-way conversation, which television does not. Television is a one-way conversation. This is a two-way conversation we will have today. I'll give you my 10 live lessons and I'll link it to my life. Okay, students? So I hope it makes sense to you. And I'll begin by saying that I think as you begin your university life, as you begin your college life, you are entering a different phase of your life completely. Earlier, they used to say college is the path to adulthood. College is adulthood now. People younger are more aware, and therefore it is very necessary at a young age, I believe, to be more aware of yourself now. I wish I could. I wish all the life lessons I have got today, I had when I was starting college. Life would be so much better if I knew the right things to do. And so I was thinking today that, you know, uh, you're like my own sons and daughters in this meeting. What would I share with you? The first thing I would share with all of you is that, you know, the first lesson, okay, I'll give you 10 lessons today. The first lesson is that I would want you to conquer your greatest fear. All of us have one great fear. I'm not talking of physical fear. I'm not talking of the fear of spiders. I am talking about what is your greatest internal fear. Because fear inhibits you. I'll tell you what my fear was. You'll find it very surprising. And if you're going to tweet about it, I hope you don't misquote me on this one. But my biggest fear as a child was speaking to people. And I truly was very nervous. Whenever an adult would come in front of me, I would freeze. I know that there are children who talk a lot. I was one of those who just couldn't say anything. You know, I would prepare and rehearse my lines. What's your name? What do you want to be when you grow up? It was a rehearsed line. And when I was introduced, when my father would call me, introduce me to others and elders, I would just speak my rehearsed lines and run away. And my heart would flutter every time I would speak. So my greatest fear as a child, as growing up, was speaking to people. And I cannot tell you the exact point at which maybe I conquered that fear. But as I was preparing to talk to you today, I thought about it. And I think that when you find that one thing which lifts your spirit, then you conquer your fear. And for me, somewhere around class 7, 8, 9, 10, poetry, declamation, and because I found it a very interesting and solitary pursuit. I found it, I would read poetry alone. I would do my declamation alone. So before going in for a declamation competition, there would be a lot of time where you would rehearse to yourself and there was nobody in the room, and you would speak loudly and you would speak with intonations. And as you were doing that, there was you could feel the blood rushing through. And especially poetry and declamation was about assertion and rhetoric. And if you imagine a young person who's afraid to speak in front of others, and if you imagine a 13, 14-year-old child who starts declaiming and doing poetry to himself, and then you go before people and you freeze again, but then you go back to the room, you practice again, you go back. And there is one moment when there is somebody in the audience who will appreciate what you've done. And we are all looking for that recognition. And, you know, for me, poetry, declamation, and then debate, and then the losing stage fright. When it's like swimming, once you lose stage fright, it never comes back. And then your greatest fear becomes, what would you say, your addiction. So that explains why
Yes, we can see you, Arnab.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So thank God it's come back. I hope you forgive me my bad connection, but can you hear me now, Rajita?
Yes, yes.
Can
we
you
can
hear
hear
me?
you, Arnab. Yes, we can see you.
So I don't know where I left off, but what I was saying that sometimes your conquering your best fear can only be done when you find what you truly like and what lifts your spirit. So yeah, can you hear me? Okay. I'm there with you, right?
We can hear you. We can hear you, see you also. Yes.
So I was saying that sometimes when you find what truly lifts your spirit, what you enjoy, what gives you happiness, it can conquer your biggest fear. So I think the first and most important thing I would say to everyone who is in this session today is that let's start by promising that on your first day of college that you tell yourself that you will do whatever it takes to conquer your biggest fear. And you will also spend some time asking yourself what your biggest fear is and asking yourself what will inhibit you, how it can hold you back, and then finding your own way to conquer it. I think it will help you a great way, a great deal in life, because life is not just about the academic part of it. Life is about the life lessons. And so for me, my biggest fear I shared with you. The second thing I'd like to share with all of you today is that the value of hard work and the value of perseverance, there is no alternative to it in life. This may appear very simple, it may appear to be a cliche, so let me give you a more detailed explanation of what I mean by it. You will find in life that there is talent and of course there is opportunity. Talent is uneven, opportunity is unpredictable. So what is the certainty? The certainty that you have is hard work. It is completely in your hands. And in life, there is no alternative to tremendous hard work. I want to tell you, students, that there is, in my view, no shortcut in life. Another cliche I'm using, so let me give you an example. When I joined the profession of journalism, television had just started. And television then was not what is TV now. We would work for a full day to get a 2-minute edited package at night if we were lucky. And very often we would strive the whole day to get an interview, to get a comment, and to get a reaction. And since I found that in Lutyens Delhi, as I always describe it, it is difficult to exhibit your talent or for your talent to be recognized. I found over a period of time that the only way to break through and to prove yourself was hard work. Let me share some examples. I would take a camera and a mic, and my cameraman and I would leave from our office every morning. And I would set in my mind a target, and I would promise that I would not return till I had achieved the target. Let me tell you, one of those bizarre targets one day was, for example, that I would get a comment on a particular news story I was reporting from the Deputy Prime Minister of India. At that time, it was the Vajpayee cabinet, and the Deputy Prime Minister of India was Lal Krishna Advani. And it is impossible for a young reporter to get an interview with the Deputy Prime Minister of India. So what do you do on a hot summer day? On a hot summer day, you go out and you ask and find out which is the gate through which the Deputy Prime Minister of India will enter and exit North Block. North Block being that part in Raisina Hill where the Home Minister has his office. And when you find out where Advani is going to come in and go from, I would place myself from morning to night right outside the gate through which the Deputy Prime Minister would come in and go. And let me tell you, while it appears to be a simple job, it is not. Because there is no shade. It is unbearably hot in Delhi in June. So in a 45, 46 degree temperature, you stand there. You stand there at every point of time. You don't leave your guard. And you sometimes feel like collapsing, but you don't leave your guard because you don't know when Advani will come and when Advani will go. So it could be at any minute when you just take a break. So I would be, the stakeout artist. They call this a stakeout. I was very well known at that point of time for being the best stakeout artist in Delhi. So I would I would spend 9 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours standing in the hot sun just to get that one moment when I could possibly, get the Deputy Prime Minister to see me. It was very difficult. You would almost faint. Sometimes you'd think that you'd collapse. But I'll tell you, my greatest moment has always been when, after all that hard work, one of my most beautiful experiences in life has been, I stood for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, every day outside North Block with my camera. And eventually, I don't know whether Mr. Advani took pity on me or was just surprised to see me there. Eventually, on the third or fourth day, he asked, I suddenly got a message from someone inside saying, "You've been summoned inside." And I was drenched in sweat, and I still remember going in. And Advani, I'm sitting next face to face with the Deputy Prime Minister of India, and it can be overwhelming if you're a 27-year-old sitting there in that situation. 26, 27, I don't know how old I was. And he told me, "So beta, तुम कितना देर इधर खड़े हो? तुम और कितने दिन इधर खड़े रहोगे?" And I remember I told him, "मैं तब तक खड़ा रहूंगा जब आप मेरे से बात नहीं करेंगे." And he said, "Okay, roll your camera, ask your questions." And I got an interview with him. 4 days. See, what I'm trying to share with you students is that there is no alternative to hard work. In Delhi, when I was starting my career, it was so difficult to make a mark. Journalism was so full of people with connections who know others that it's difficult for someone on the basis of your degree, your qualification, or your talent to make your mark. But what I learned was that there is nothing that can defeat hard work. A word which I swear by even now, which I call tenacity. And I define tenacity as the ability to do something repeatedly, to work hard for a protracted period of time towards what you want to achieve. So my second lesson, first, of course, I would ask you to conquer your greatest fears. The second, I would say that there is no alternative to hard work. Let me tell you one more example of where hard work eventually pays out and not giving up pays out. On another occasion, I would get the worst of beats. A beat is an area where you cover, a beat in journalism. I don't know. So you are on the legal beat, or the home ministry beat, or the railway ministry beat, right? Or the crime beat, or the entertainment beat. The problem with me, I never got a good beat. Everybody got the good beats. So somebody would cover Congress, BJP. I would be the one without a beat. I was the 12th man in NDTV. What nobody else does, usually comes to you. So as the 12th man, I found one day that the person covering the Congress beat had gone on leave. And I was told that I should cover the Congress beat for 2 or 3 days. The interesting thing was, at that point of time when I was covering the Congress beat, there was this big event where Sonia Gandhi, who was then not the Congress president, was going to Sri Perumbudur. And I thought it's a great opportunity. So I said, I want to go to Sri Perumbudur to cover the event where she is going to speak. Sitaram Kesri was the Congress president. I went all the way to Chennai, then from Chennai to Sri Perumbudur to Chennai back. And I was coming back to Delhi. I was not allowed to report the story. The local reporters said, we'll cover the story of Sonia Gandhi's speech. So I said, what am I going to do? I was told, you carry the camera, you move around, you be our assistant. It was a very, it was a humiliating experience when you think that you're going to get a great reporting opportunity, you're going to report a great political story, things are changing in the Congress, and you're not even allowed to show your face for 1 minute. I came back, and I was back on the flight from Chennai to Delhi. And when the plane landed in Delhi airport, I ran like a madman from the economy section to the business, and the SPG blocked me. And I started shouting. I said, "Miss, Miss Sonia Gandhi, you have to talk to me. Of course, now she doesn't like me anymore. She wouldn't talk to me. But at that time, I said, talk to me. And I started screaming and shouting. I was completely desperate. And the SPG was pushing me back. The passengers possibly thought I was mad, but I was desperate. I had worked so hard. I had gone all the way to Chennai and back, and they were not giving me an interview. And eventually I was called on the tarmac by the SPG, and on the tarmac of Palam Airport, Sonia Gandhi eventually spoke to me. It was a 4 to 5 minute interview. The reason I'm telling you here today, because it was the first time she ever faced the camera. The unfortunate part is that she doesn't face the camera anymore, neither does her son. But the fact is, it was the first time she faced the camera at that point of time. And for me, it was a big break. I would not have got the break had I just not worked hard, had I not been desperate. So I want to tell you, students, please take this lesson of mine very seriously. There is no alternative in life to hard work, perseverance, and tenacity. Where you go from here will be determined much more by your hard work than by your talent alone. And opportunities are unpredictable. I'll talk about that later. The third thing going on opportunities, I want to share with all the students. I see some parents also with them in this meeting. And this is important. I'm sure all parents say this to their children as well. Students, grab every opportunity you get. Grab every opportunity. Do not let an opportunity pass. I was so desperate for opportunities when I started my career. I'll give you one example of an opportunity I took, which was completely crazy at that point of time. I was asked, do you know Hindi? And believe me, I completely lied. I knew Hindi, but I couldn't speak Hindi to save my life. They said, are you good enough in Hindi to anchor the news in Hindi? I don't know what came over me. I said yes, because I thought this is my only way to be an anchor on TV. So if you look back at the tapes, you will find in 1996 or 1997, when many of you were probably not born, there was a scrawny kid who used to come on Doordarshan doing a Hindi headline bulletin called Surkhiyan. That was yours truly. I used to memorize the lines, what we call in Delhi University language, doctor will know it, rattofy. I used to rattofy the lines in Hindi, read it in an English script, be sweating at the end of the opportunity, but I grabbed the opportunity to do anchoring. So my first anchoring on television was not in English. It was actually in Hindi. Had I not taken up that opportunity, I would have perhaps never even been an anchor. So students, grab every opportunity. You don't know what will turn out for you. You don't know what will work for you. Don't let go of a single opportunity in life. The fourth thing I want to share with you is, and students, this is important that you have a conversation about it with your teachers and your parents as well. Take risks. Whether you are young or old, take risks. You are today entering your youth, right? We are past it. But let me tell you one thing. There is nothing that gives me a greater blood rush, a greater sense of excitement than taking a risk. Take risks. Take big risks in life. The more risks you take, the more fruitful your life will be. Of course, calculated risks. But think about it. Don't let fear ever overcome you. And now let me share the one risk which I took, which was useful for me in the long run. But when I took it, everybody said that, I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. In 2004, I quit NDTV. I quit NDTV in 2004. And believe me, everyone wrote me off. Everyone. When you take risks, you will be written off. And especially if you're young and you take risks, many people will write you off. And everybody will tell you to tread the beaten path, everything. Let me tell you about my risk and what it taught me. I left NDTV in 2004. At a very young age, I was a senior editor. I had a good salary. I had bought a house. I had a small child. I was as they say in the ultimate Indian lingo, I was settled. You know what I mean? Have you been told to be settled or not? How many of you raise your hands? How many students have been told to get settled quickly? All right. Yeah. Okay, good. I can see quite a few of you raise your hands. So that's good. I was settled. It was ridiculous to leave NDTV at that time. Ridiculous. I remember when I was leaving, I think even Pranay Roy was surprised. And he asked me, he said, why do you want to leave NDTV? I gave him a brutally honest reply. I said, Pranay, I want to create a second source of employment for English language journalists who are doing television in India. Because at that time, there was only NDTV. Now imagine one individual leaves a mothership. The mothership is 100 times the Titanic. You have no idea how dominant NDTV was in 2004. There was only NDTV. There was Doordarshan and NDTV. And for somebody who has broken through the ranks, worked hard, become a senior editor in NDTV, to leave it all and leave the city and leave Delhi, which is the Mecca of journalism, as they say. It certainly is not. And then go to Mumbai and think of starting a channel was unbelievably ridiculous. And to make your family move and everyone move, to leave your house, it was just, I was the laughing stock for the longest time. And I'll tell you one story. I used to love seeing movies in PVR at that time. It was not called PVR, but there was a movie, there was the only swanky movie hall in Delhi at that point of time was Priya Cinema. I'm sure it exists. It's Vasant Kunj area near JNU. And I would love going there. So after leaving NDTV, I was asked when I was being interviewed by the Times of India, you know everything about launching a channel? I said, yes, absolutely. They said, everything. I said, am I audible to you? Rajita, you can hear me, right? Just raise your hand if you can.
It's fluctuating a little bit, but you're audible, yeah.
I remember that I was asked, do you know everything about launching a channel? I said, yes. Believe me, I had no idea. But I've never been shy of accepting challenges or making a claim. So I said, yes, of course I know. After getting the job, which was to launch a TV channel for India's biggest media group, I was in a fix. I remember calling some of my best friends down to a coffee shop near Priya Cinema. And I remember sitting down with a paper, and there were 4 or 5 sitting there. One person is from production, one is from a camera department, one is an editor, one is a reporter. I said, guys, I want to ask you something. They said, what? I said, how do we start a TV channel? They said, why are you asking us? I said, because I'm going to launch a TV channel. And believe me, everyone spilled their coffee and they had a good laugh. And we all laughed for the longest time. They thought it was a con job. The reason I'm telling you this is because life is the biggest education you will get later. Learning a TV channel, launching a TV channel is not written in any book. And if I had not said yes to the challenge, I would not have taken the risk. So I go back to go back to the point, students, take risks because life will teach you the way. If your purpose is clear and your heart is clean, and if your effort is straight, your integrity is with you, don't imagine that there is any perfect way. I'll talk about it later. Sometimes in life, students, we don't take a challenge because we believe that we don't know something and someone else knows the way. There is no perfect way. Don't avoid taking the risk because you think that you need to take the risk after having made the complete plan. There is no complete plan. There is no, for me, there was no prototype of launching a TV channel. You know, if I had gone around looking for a book that taught me, I would have not found the book. If I had gone around looking for a teacher who would have taught me, I would have not found the teacher. The book is within you. The teacher is within you. The problem is, we don't look for our teacher within. We don't look for the book within. We want someone else to do it for us. So students, take risks, have faith in yourself, keep your family together, but have the courage to take the risk. Now let me give you my next lesson. I don't know whether I'm on number 4 or 5. And the moment I start boring you, please tell me, because I'll switch off. The problem is Rajita has given me no time limit, which is a very dangerous thing for someone like me, Rajita.
You have no time limit, Arnab.
You invite me and you don't give me a time limit. I call it self-inflicted injury.
It's absolutely delightful to listen to you. Please continue. No time limit.
My next point is that after taking risks, I want to tell you, students, and this is the most important thing: find your own way. Find your own way. Don't follow someone else's way. Now, again, I will share a specific example with you, if I may. You see, after leaving NDTV and starting Times, I spent a couple of years putting the channel together, raising money. I'll not talk about that. After launching Times Now, is January 31st, 2006, right? I didn't know what to do. I had spent so much effort trying to launch a channel, I did not know what to put on the channel. So I simply followed whatever others were doing. I said the way others were doing journalism must be the right way. Let me try. Now, let me explain this in precise terms. If the channel was blue and red, I would put more blue and red. If the channel A had graphics, I would put a little bit more graphics. I would try to outdo the others in what they were already doing. Right? So whatever someone else was doing, I would follow it and I would try to do it better. I became a copycat channel and I was completely unsuccessful. When the channel launched, I am happy to inform you, it was the biggest disaster in the history of Indian television. It had a 5% market share. People rejected it. People laughed at me. People would say, this is not Times Now, it should be called Times When. When will the channel be launched? Now, the important thing here is that replicating somebody else was my biggest mistake. Nobody wants a photocopy of a successful product. If you have to be successful, you must find your own way. Trying to emulate others is good, but trying to replicate others is bad. Each one of you is like a fingerprint. You are unique. You cannot be made to be like somebody else. When I tried to be like NDTV, I failed. So you have to find your own way. Now let me tell you how I found my own way, which takes me to my next lesson. Very critical, students. You have to lose your fear of losing. So I link it to what I told you earlier. I launched Times Now. It was unsuccessful. I didn't know what to do. I was about to lose my job, which may appear to be strange to you today, but believe me, I was doing so badly, and this is 13 or 14 years back, that I was about to lose my job. I didn't know what to do. My back was to the wall. I had worked very hard, built my career, but the channel I launched was not successful. Not know what to do. The important thing, when you lose your fear of losing. Now, this may appear a little philosophical. Again, let me tell you from my life. So I have now taken the calendar to May or somewhere around early or mid 2006. I don't know the exact date. I'm sitting at home on a Sunday. I'm about to lose my job. Everybody is making complete fun of me. I was not even a very well-known anchor at that point of time. And it's important you know this. And I got a phone call. And I was exasperated. I got a phone call and I had my news editors on the other side said, boss, you want to do an editorial meeting phone call? Are you coming to office? So I said, I'm not coming to office. Let's discuss the news stories on the phone. I said, okay. So they said, this is happening, that is happening. What should we do? So I'm talking on the phone. I'm giving some instructions. And then they say that, oh, by the way, there's one more story. I said, what story? Well, boss, I don't think it'd be interested. It's a Hindi channel kind of story. I said, tell me anyway. They said, well, a boy has fallen into a bore well. This is the first I heard of the story. I said, where? They said, this is in Haryana in a place called Kurukshetra. I said, okay, so tell me more about it. They said, a boy has fallen into a bore well and there's a lot of, the bore well was left open by the government. They were digging a sort of bore well. They forgot to cover it up. And a child was playing. He fell into the bore well. We don't know whether the child is alive or dead, but a lot of villagers have gathered around that area. A lot of people have gathered. They're trying to save the boy. The Hindi channels are covering the story, but it's in Haryana. It's a Hindi channel kind of story. Let's not cover it. And I immediately, I went back 10 years from that day. I'm talking about 2006. And I remembered that in 1996, my news editor in 1996 was a wonderful person called Appan Menon. There used to be a show called The World This Week. And one of the correspondents of World This Week was this bearded man called Appan Menon, who would report from different parts of the world. And Appan was my news editor. I was a reporter. Appan had to call me at that time in 1996 when at the year I started my career in television and said, Arnab, there is a story I want you to cover. I said, what story? They said, a child has fallen into a open manhole. I said, where? He said, outside a school in South Delhi. Will you cover the story? And I had fought with Appan and I had told him that, Appan, I don't want to cover the story. And Appan said, why? I said, well, because I want to cover finance, economy, politics, foreign policy. I don't want to cover a small story about a child falling into a manhole. And I had a huge fight with him. And, Appan was trying to tell me that, this is not an unimportant story. And eventually I did not cover the story. I don't know whether that boy in 1996, that child, boy or girl, survived or not. But I remember fighting with Appan. And Appan told me at that point of time that, Arnab, one day you will realize that in India, a story of a child falling into a bore well happens only in India. What you consider to be a small story is not a small story. Someday you will realize that it's a big story. For 10 years, I had forgotten about that incident. But in 2006, 10 years later, when I was an unsuccessful editor in the city of Mumbai, a similar incident was happening right before my eyes. And my news editor was telling me on the phone, it's a Hindi channel story, maybe you won't be interested in it. And I remember telling him, just hang on. I put the phone down. I drove to office. I followed the story, and for 3 or 4 days, I don't know, at least 2 or 3 days, non-stop, the only story that was on Times Now was the story of a young boy called Prince. The name of the child was Prince. For 2 days, you all were very young, I think, you would not know, but you must Google search the story of Prince. For 2 days, we did nothing but save Prince. We opened up the phone lines. There was no Twitter then. We opened up emails. We would tell people to call us, send us messages through text, through email, call us, tell us whether government apathy was the reason that Prince was in that situation. So we split the screen and we said, is Prince's condition the height of government apathy? We woke up the system, and eventually, believe me, all the politicians landed in Kurukshetra. All the police officers landed in Kurukshetra. I remember the member of parliament landed in Kurukshetra. The army landed. For 2 days, This country, ask your parents, because you were young, ask your teachers, for 2 days in this country, the whole country came together. We have so many things which divide us, right? But the whole country came together for Prince. People would call, engineers would call saying that, you know, there is a borewell. If you cut the borewell like this, if you do it at this angle, you will save the boy. And now let me tell you, when I had launched the channel, we were sitting in a room, and someone had told me, Arnav, what should be the tagline of your channel? And I said, feel the news. They said, you give us a visual descriptor of feel the news. So I said, feel the news is any news moment. Say Sachin Tendulkar is scoring a century. There is no audio over it. There is only a heartbeat which goes dhak dhak, dhak dhak, dhak dhak. And by seeing the pictures, you emotionally involve yourself in the story. You've got to feel the news. And I kept saying the problem in this country is people don't feel the news. People watch the news. People read the news. There are no emotions involved. There are no emotions involved in the news. So I kept telling people that what we can make people do is feel the news. We need to get people of this country involved in the news. And I remember that Prince was eventually taken out after 2 days, or at least a day and a half. I don't remember the exact time. Now I'll come to the lesson. Eventually there was a officer or a Jawan from the military engineering service who brought out a child, covered him in a cloth, an orange cloth or yellow cloth, and took him out. And my whole newsroom started looking at the TV, and there was pin drop silence. And believe me, we were all relatively young. I was in my early 30s. Rest of my team was in their early 20s to mid 20s. And we were all looking at the TV because we wanted to know, were we successful? Would Prince come out? And eventually after an hour or 2 hours, someone from the army came out and he said that Prince is alive and he's being taken to hospital for treatment. We had saved the life of a 6-year-old boy. And my whole newsroom started crying. My entire newsroom started crying. I don't know if you remember the story or how many of you would remember the story, because sometimes, you know, in our country, things come and go, we forget about it, but my whole newsroom started crying. And now I come back to the life lesson. Listen, students, I remember when I was doing the story of Prince, I was considered to be a failure. My channel was considered to be a failure. So what happened was, when you lose so much, and when people say that you are a failure, you lose the fear of losing. You lose the fear of losing. So you play your innings without the fear of losing. Students, it is important that without failing, you lose the fear of losing. After failing, I lost the fear of losing. You must lose the fear of losing without necessarily failing. You must play every game without the fear of losing. You must not play defensively. I'm not saying play aggressively, but play your natural game. Am I making sense to you? If I am, then at least give me a thumbs up or something. Am I making sense to the students out there? Do not have the fear of losing. I would have done everything I have done in life 10 years earlier if I had not had the fear of losing. And the world is becoming younger. It is your world now. And imagine if you don't have the fear of losing and you play your natural game, how wonderful things would be. Imagine if I did not have the fear of losing, I would not be replicating NDTV when I launched. And it has changed my entire approach to journalism. I also began to realize then that there is no set way. I began to realize that every set way that was taught to me was actually wrong. One of the set ways, by the way, on an aside, let me tell you, was never express your opinion. I remember, can you imagine this? I remember as a 22-year-old or 23-year-old joining NDTV, walking up the steps. I was taken to a room to be taught the holy grail of journalism. And the first was always speak with poise and in the soft voice. And secondly, please don't express your opinion. Can you speak in a soft voice and never express your opinion? So I turned the tables of the journalism I had taught around, but it's all right. The next point I want to share with you is, you must speak your heart. You must speak what is on your mind. I lost many opportunities in life because I was afraid to ask. I was afraid to ask. You know, in India, we are always told to, I don't know whether it's true today for you, but it was for me when I was your age. We're always told to refrain from asking. We are told that, suppose you want an assignment, a project, a job. We are told, work hard and it will come to you. Yeah, of course we believe in that. But life is not about divine providence alone. Sometimes you must ask, you must seek. If you feel you are deserving, you must share. If you want a project, you must talk to your professor. I lost many reporting assignments because I was afraid to go to that room and say, can I go? Can I do it? And then later somebody will tell you, but you never asked. It's a very simple lesson in life, which I tell young people right now. How will I know if you don't tell me? And the same applies to me now, which is why in my office I say, there's an open door. Come and ask. We'll not send each other emails. We'll talk to each other. It's very important. I keep telling younger people, please ask. Even now, whenever I need help, I do go and ask people, please help me. Right? So we are in an economic crisis of COVID right now. I do ask advertisers, please advertise more in news channels. Otherwise, how will we do our job? There is no harm in asking if you ask with honesty. But that's not the lesson I want to tell you. That's on an aside. I want to talk to you about speaking your heart. Speak your heart and come to the core issue right at the start. I now want to give you another example. In 2008, now let's move to 2008. I remember it is around August, and later you can find out about it. I was told that there is a situation where 2 or 3 terrorists have entered across the line of control near the Jammu area, and they have entered near Jammu cantonment or cantonment in that area. Forgive me if the details appear sketchy, but broadly this is what happened. And the terrorists came in and they wanted to enter into a cantonment area, and the terrorists shot at a guard, and the guard shot back, and the terrorists were supposed to go in and carry out an attack inside the army camp. They couldn't do it. So they panicked. And after panicking, these 2 or 3 terrorists with their heavy guns and armor, there was an auto rickshaw or somebody there, or a public vehicle. They put a gun to the driver's head and they kept driving. And eventually, after driving, because they were afraid, they were on the run, the terrorists, they went into a residential area, and inside a residential area, they went into a house. Now, this is where the story begins. Inside the house, there are 2 women, mothers, and their children. And they are doing a group class. And the terrorists hold them hostage. And the hostage drama goes on for hours and hours. And then the media and all of us start worrying about whether the children will be safe. And we start thinking about the sheer irony of it, that fully armed terrorists are holding small children hostage. And that night on my program, there was, I think, Taslim Rahmani or some, not Taslim Rahmani, sorry. There's a Pakistani politician who was on my show. And I remember when he was on my show, I started talking to him in circles. And I started discussing with him. And I tried to convince the Pakistani guests that what the terrorists were doing was wrong. And they were giving me straight-jacketed diplomatic replies. You know, Pakistani diplomats are very well trained at giving you straight-jacketed replies, which can frustrate anyone. And eventually, I simply asked the Pakistani guest that, can you tell me whether the people who are holding the children hostage are cowards? And that language are you using? I said, no, let's not talk the diplomatic language. Let's not talk about, let's just, terrorists who are holding these Indian children hostage are cowards. And he was not responding, but I could see that I was told that from my newsroom that there are a lot of people who are responding to your question. So my producer said, ask that question again. So I said, can you tell me, Mr. Minister, are these people who are holding the Indian children hostage are cowards? And more phone calls started coming into my newsroom. And they said, my producer said, ask the question again. I asked the question at least 100 times to the politician. That was the first time I had a walkout from my program. But when I came out, every phone in the newsroom was buzzing. Every phone in the newsroom was buzzing. And I started picking up the phones one by one. And everybody said, thank you for asking that question. Thank you for asking that question. And I simply did not realize what I had done. Now let me explain this to you, what I had done without knowing. I had spoken my heart in a simple way. Sometimes we complicate the question. But when you ask the question in a simple way, when you ask a question in a language that everyone understands, in the language of your heart, not of your mind alone. We are trained throughout to speak through our mind. We are never told, never ever told to speak through our heart. When I spoke through my heart, my voice resonated with many more people than when I spoke from my mind alone. Students, I will only tell you this. This was the biggest lesson in my life and the turning point in my career. And I'll tell you why. From 2008 alone, my journalism changed. I now speak more from my heart than my mind. Not that it's completely mindless, but I let my heart step forward first. If my heart tells me a story is correct, it is correct. If my gut instinct tells me that Sushant Singh Rajput has not been killed in normal circumstances, I go with my heart. If my heart tells me that there has been an act of corruption, I go with my heart. If my heart told me that Kalmadi was corrupt and the CWG scam happened, I go with my heart. If my heart told me that the other scam happened, I go with my heart. And when the Chief Minister of Maharashtra at that time, Ashok Chavan, called to warn me to take back the other story, with my heart, I told him it is not possible. So I respond with my heart. And a few months after the incident I spoke to you about, there was another incident, which was the incident of, I see Professor Vaidyanathan here. Good afternoon, sir. Is that you, sir? Good to see you, sir. In that, there was 26/11, which happened 2 months after this incident that I spoke to you about. For the 3 days of 26/11, dear students, I spoke simply through my heart. I challenged the existing ways of fighting terrorism through my heart. I involved people after 26/11 in public campaigns through my heart. When the Anna agitation happened, and my mind told me that I don't trust the people leading the agitation, whether it is Prashant Bhushan or Yogendra Yadav or even Arvind Kejriwal, I did not trust them. But my heart told me that the fight was good, even if the individuals I did not agree with. So I always told myself, you may not agree with the individuals, but the battle against corruption is greater. So I spoke through my heart. My heart has never proven me wrong. And whenever politicians have questioned what I have done with their mind, I have responded to them with my heart. And I have told them that I don't agree with the ways you are looking at it. When the Minister for Information and Broadcasting at that point of time threatened me that they would black out the channel if I don't stop my non-stop coverage of 26/11, I spoke with my heart and I said that if you black out my channel, then I will go on other mediums and digital and tell the whole world that you're blacking me out. So it is important, students, that somewhere beyond just finding your own way, you start listening. That don't pull back. Once you've committed, don't pull back. Once you're in a game, complete it. Don't play safe. Don't play safe, students. Now let me tell you one example of all this. Suddenly, in and around, I think it was 2010, I had broken the CWG scam. Let me tell you the story of the CWG scam first. I had broken the CWG scam, and when I broke the CWG scam, I had no papers about it. I had no evidence. This is another secret I'll share with you today. I had a piece of paper with me, which was from Her Majesty's Treasury, which said that a group of people went to UK from the Commonwealth Games Organizing Committee. Professor Vaidyanathan, you'll find it interesting because he's also a crusader on corruption. And they said that these people, this is from the Treasury Department of the British government, 250,000 pounds is unaccounted for. Just 250,000 pounds. I had no idea about the scam. So I said that we have no story that day. Let us hype the story. Let us call it the CWG scam. My team told me, are you sure calling it the CWG scam? I said, yes, because it's a group of people linked to the CWG who have gone and they have unaccounted receipts of 250,000 pounds. You can do a back calculation. How much does that mean? About 2.5 crores in today's terms? Say under 5 crores. So it was it was not a big scam. It was a limited scam. But true to form, I hyped it and I called it the CWG scam. And I divided that page I had into 3 parts: paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. And these are some of the tricks we do. I said part 1 today, part 2 tomorrow, part 3 day after, to retain viewer interest. As soon as I said that much more to follow, I got a call from the right-hand person of Suresh Kalmadi in Delhi after showing the story. And the person asked me, you are going to break the CWG scam? I said, yes. And he said, you have got all the papers? I said, yes. He said, you've got all the proof. I had no proof, by the way. I said, yes. They said, you have all the evidence. You know exactly what is going on. I said, absolutely. I have absolutely every knowledge of whatever is going on. Then the person told me, okay, in that case, I'll send you a little bit more. And that's when the evidence came to me. What I'm sharing with you today is that I had no idea about the Commonwealth Games scam before making a big claim on television that I had the scam. The papers came to me from Suresh Kalmadi's office a day or 2 later. Now, what has this got to do with what I told you about not playing safe? Once I had broken the CWG scam, expectations had grown. And such a big scam at that point of time. Suresh Kalmadi did a press conference. There were denials. The government was in tumult. The Congress party was called. Suresh Kalmadi was booed at the opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Games. It became the biggest anti-corruption story in the history of independent India in more than 50 years. The CWG scam. Expectations grew. And suddenly, I found myself surrounded with evidence from all over India, all over India. I started getting scam papers, evidence. Everywhere across India, it seemed there was a scam to be broken. And I just did not know how to handle the attention. I'm not a trained investigative journalist. This is not what I've done. I've been a pure, simple political journalist. I've never read papers. I've never seen evidence. I've never done the chartered accountant kind of stuff. I've never read audit books. But expectations had arisen. And somewhere around the end of 2008, all of India expected a scam a day on my channel, then Times Now. It is then that I changed track and I started doing investigative journalism. I asked myself, should I stop now? Then I said, if there are so many expectations, we should not pull back. I did not pull back. And for the next 6 months after that, ending with the press conference of the Prime Minister, which was itself breaking news because Manmohan Singh did not do press conferences, did not speak at all, leave alone do a press conference. For 6 months or so, there were non-stop scams on our channel. We changed the discourse in our country. We made corruption the center point issue. We made corruption the issue way before India Against Corruption and others came in. They came in later. But even before they came into the scene, we brought corruption as a buzzword. In a country where corruption was taken for granted, We made it an issue of national attention and national debate. What I'm telling you, students, is this from my limited example. Had I pulled back, had I played safe, had I said that this is all that I can do and I don't want to take it any further, had I just said that, then I would not have been able to carry my own battle through. So students, once you've committed to something, don't play safe. Go all the way. Now, there are 2 or 3 more lessons I want to share with you. And this may sound strange, but don't be afraid to walk away from all that you have gathered. In life, you will gather money, you will gather property, you will gather a lot of things. Life is not about gathering, I believe. Life is about playing a fresh innings. To gain something, sometimes you need to give up something. By 2014, 15, 16, I was at the height of my career. As an editor, as a journalist, as an anchor, as a leader. And then on November 8th, November 1st, 2018, I walked away from it all. I left everything and I said, I want to start my own venture. Again, the same reaction like I had when I left NDTV. Had I not left Times Now, Republic would not have happened. Had I not left NDTV, Times Now would not have happened. And had all of this not happened, maybe a lot of things which have happened in Indian journalism would not have happened. I'm not saying I've contributed greatly, but I've contributed in my small way. And I think, it is very important, students, for you to know that if someone tells you to play a fresh innings, don't look back. Always be ready to play a fresh innings. Which means if you've scored a double century, tells you to start all over again. The challenge is not how much more you score beyond the double century. The challenge is whether you're willing to give up your wicket and start all over again and tell yourself, I'll score another century and I'll score another double century. That was my feeling. And I remember leaving Times Now and I entered into a small co-sharing space called the Garage. I left the biggest channel, everything I had built from scratch. All my fellow colleagues, employees, I left everything. I picked up my bag. I literally had a trunk with me. I had no office. I had nowhere to go. I had no money. And that is a point of time when someone told me that, I can give you a 2,000 square feet office in a place called Garage. So near Toddy Mills area, a friend of mine lent me a 2,000 square feet office. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have an assistant. I had nothing. I had just my papers and I was sitting there. It was like life was telling me to start all over again. And I think I have never been through as beautiful experience as starting all over again. You need to shed your skin sometimes, because with your skin, with what you leave behind, you also shed your ego. You also shed your sense of grandeur. You also shed your sense of office. Over a period of time, we think we are great. We have these degrees, we have these offices, we have these homes, we have this property, we have this following. And in television, it can be also, we have so many people who recognize us. Students, always be ready to play a fresh innings. Always be ready to play from the start, to shed your old skin, to gain new skin. It is a rejuvenating process. It's a process of like detoxifying yourself. So sometimes in life, whatever you do, experiment with things you've not done. Start all over again. And now lastly, my last point, and then maybe we'll have a conversation. Ask what motivates you. What makes you happy? What gives you a thrill? What gives you a sense of a greater cause? What is it? What is it that is beyond your immediate material needs? I'll share what makes me happy. Fighting for justice makes me happy. Fighting for what I think is right makes me happy. And achieving some measure of success in that makes me happy. And so I'll tell you something that you may relate with, because it is in the news now. For the last 10 days, I'm fighting a battle of my life, even of this minute, till this morning, until 2 o'clock last night. I'm fighting the battle of my life in the Sushant Singh Rajput case. Nobody in the media is supporting me. My peers in the media are refusing to follow the story. Nobody in the Indian media is following it. They have been saying that I'm wrong because I'm the only one. Last night I said on my show, if I'm the only one, does that make me wrong? Tell me, students, haven't you had this feeling? Your whole class is on one side. Does that mean that you are wrong because you have your own beliefs? No, right? Similarly, somewhere my gut instinct and my heart tells me that Sushant was not killed in normal circumstances. He did not take his life in normal circumstances. I feel whatever happened to him was very unfortunate. And what motivates me today is simple things like, can I fight for justice? Can I contribute a little bit in that sense? Can I expose what is wrong? Therefore, you will find that when we launched the Republic channel, I did a story. I don't know if you saw it. It was about a phone call between Lalu Prasad Yadav and a mafia don called Shahabuddin in Bihar. Now, Shahabuddin is a very well-known mafia don. We had an intercept of a conversation between the mafia don and Lalu Prasad. Lalu Prasad was part of the government, and the mafia don is sitting in jail and telling the person who's running the government what to do. And the mafia don was telling Lalu Prasad that why have you sent the police when there was a riot which was going on? The riot should have been allowed to go on. Why did police? And Lalu Prasad was saying, well, I'm sorry that this happened. I will find out how it happened. And you had a horrible situation. A person running the government is telling a mafia don, I'm sorry for sending the police to stop a riot. I will pull up the people who did it. These kind of things make me angry. They make me insanely angry. Fighting for justice, exposing what is wrong, and going with my heart and playing the way and paving the way for a new journalism in this country where we confidently question what is wrong, what we believe in without any vested interest, gives me a sense of a thrill. It motivates me. So whether it is fighting mafia, corrupt politicians, Sushant Singh Rajput, anything, misogyny, Nirbhaya, corruption, it motivates me. Students, I want you to think about what motivates you. And it should not be a material thing. That's the only thing I'll say. Material success should not motivate you. As you grow older, you will realize that material success is important, but that will come later. That should not be the be all and end all of your life. What motivates you should be your ability to bring some change, perhaps, to make some impact. So do also think about what motivates you. That's all. And lastly, before I end, I want to tell you all students that you must have there's an Elvis Presley song. When I was very young, my father bought a music system, and this is 80s. As a child, he would play an LP, and there were 4 or 5 records. I don't know if you've seen them, the big LPs, the records, the long playing records. My dad bought this, and there were a few LPs which were given free. And the record I used to play over and over again was of Elvis Presley. It was a recording of a 1974 live performance by Elvis in Madison Square Gardens. Now it will be available everywhere. And there was this song out there which I still sing to myself. It's called The Impossible Dream. And the words are divine. It's beautiful. It's very motivating. So I want to end with that one thought to you. What is your impossible dream? You must have an impossible dream. There's always a possible dream and an impossible dream. The impossible dream is one which seems outside the realms of possibility. It's, remember, it will be run down. It will be seen to be inconceivable. But, look at Elon Musk. Look at what he's achieved. Look at what he's achieved. Facebook may make much more money, but Elon Musk will have much more impact. Elon Musk will be the Galileo of the future. Life is not about making money. The richest men in the world are never remembered. The people who make the big changes are remembered. If I were to ask you, students, can you tell me who was the richest man and the 5th richest man and the 7th richest man in 1995 or 2005? Would you remember? Your parents remember? Nobody would remember. But if you'd say who made an impact, I can tell you 100 years from now when people say, who was the person who dreamed we could go to Mars? They will still remember Elon Musk. So we are not all Elon Musk, nor are we making tall claims to be. But we all should have impossible dreams. or to be part of an impossible dream. Like, I believe it's not just Elon Musk, it's from everyone who's working with him today in his organization. SpaceX is part of a bigger dream. So sometimes we don't have to be the leaders, but we can be part of projects. Think of that, because that will make our country great. And we have to imbue a stronger sense. India has to be great. You have to contribute to the India story. I always say you cannot be, I was derided and made fun of when I said you can't be a good journalist if you're not a nationalist. Nationalism should be at the core of our beliefs, and Gurudev believes in it. Therefore, my impossible dream, finally, students, is that India should have a presence in global media. So, I think that we should have our alternatives to the BBCs and CNNs. I think evangelizing the idea, for me, launching Republic was about independence. But I don't want to do this. I want to launch a global venture on using digital and technology and young people and make an impact in the media. I want Indians to broadcast news to the world. I want people in North America, in Europe, Western Europe, and in the UK to follow news that is made and curated. I truly believe that it is possible. And I have been saying that I've committed myself to a project that hopefully by the 75th year of Indian independence, by 2022, I'm in global news and doing it for the world, of India to the world. This is what you would call a big dream, the dream. But our challenge is to make it possible. So students, finally, I tell you, my last lesson to you is find your impossible dream and have the courage to follow it and take the right steps to achieve it. Your whole life is ahead of you. I'm sure that you will make it. Once again, I want to thank everyone at Sri Sri University, for inviting me today. I hope this has been of some use to you. And I look forward to talking more to you. Thank you.
Arnab, unfortunately, we have everybody on mute. Otherwise, I think what is going around on this Zoom link, and also the millions of people who are watching you live now on all our social media broadcasts, must be a thunderous applause, because this last 50 minutes or so, close to an hour, I think has been the most inspiring commencement speech ever we have had at Sri Sri University. I think you gave us a distilled tutorial 101 on life. And you were sharing that, you wished you had some of these lessons when you were younger. I'm sure many of us who are of our age group probably are thinking the same. And I think that's why our students are so fortunate and so lucky to hear you, Arnab. Really, it has been, it has moved us in a way of, lifting us up to really act. It was inspiring. It was empowering. And I think the stories you shared of your life, I don't think anyone who is listening to you today will ever forget any one of those stories. I have got 672 questions till about 10 minutes ago. I didn't see since the last 10 minutes, but 672 questions, which obviously we don't probably have the time for. But I'm going to ask a few to you, Arnab, if that's convenient for you.
Yeah, yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That makes me also feel a little special, Arnab, because you are the one asking questions to everybody. So I think this is something to put in a CV for me, that I was the one who got to ask Arnab Goswami a few questions. So it is,
thank you.
So my first question to you, Arnab, is, you spoke about hard work. You spoke about conquering your fears. And what we see of you publicly, what I know, the kind of challenges you face, I have knowledge of that outside as well. Where do you find the courage? How do you find that courage, that grit to face these challenges?
One is an insurmountable belief that what is right will win.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the lesson I have learned is that if you persevere and you stay the course, the right eventually wins. So, of course, sometimes the short run, Rajita, we may always not have the experience of the right winning, but we must believe that eventually it will win. We must believe that you can go through the straight path and win. And we must take the hardship in our stride. And we must not give up. So one is that. Second thing, Rajita, is that I feel that I always tell myself that we are making this country a better place for the future generations. Like I have a vision of India, say 2040, and I imagine what the world will be like when all the young students who are here today, right, will be in their mid-careers. We must think about that. And we must believe that they must belong to a country that is an established superpower, a country that is economic, military, spiritual, soft power, media power. And what we can do is contribute to it. So when you're part of such a big cause, I always tell myself the cause is much bigger, Rajita. For me, what has kept me going is the cause. The cause is bigger. I'm not attached to material things at all anymore. And what I'm attached to is the cause. Life is short and I want to make the most of it. So why should I worry about small troubles that come my way? And one more thing, Rajita, I'll tell you. If you stay the course, then many people come and help you fight back. Recently, there was a physical attack on me. And my wife, who's an editor of our network, we were driving back home. It was a physical attack followed by attack of the criminal justice system and then a legal attack. But we eventually won. And I'm fortunate, I remember that, I'll give you this example. Harish Salve called me from London. He says, I will appear for you and I will charge no fee. He says, you can give me 1 rupee token fee. Now, why did Harish Salve call me? To have India's best lawyer come and step in forward for you. Obviously, he thought that what we are doing is right. So when you're doing the right thing, people also come along and help you. So I think in the long run, we believe that we will win.
So beautifully said, Arnab. And as you know, we are also fortunate because we are inspired by Gurudev's cause for the whole world. His vision is to see a.
I want to, sorry to interrupt you there, but I want to also say this, that I still remember the day when we were building our studio, Rajita, and Gurudev came to your home. And then you and Ajay told me that Gurudev will come and bless my studio. I remember the bricks were lying all around the people who were working. We were working on a deadline. There was dust and construction everywhere. And suddenly I have Gurudev walking into this large studio and then distributing sweets himself and blessing us all. And, so that blessing for me is more important than anything else. So I just wanted to add that when you're doing something good, I think we are all lucky that all positive.
Yes, absolutely, Arnab. And as I was saying, that has been our experience. Gurudev's vision for the world is to have a stress-free, violence-free society, a stress-free, violence-free world, which is really living like a one world family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and all over the world, 160, 70 countries now, art of living teachers, volunteers, and workers at the community level. This is our experience also, Arnab. We are building the university. It started as an idea, and it has now become an institution, and so many challenges. And to build it ethically, I would like to use this platform to say that we have not paid a single rupee bribe in this entire journey. And you know how difficult that it can be.
Amazing.
And as you said, the cause is inspiring, and we are also propelled by it. So really, this resonates. But Arnab, connected to this, the question I have for you is that you said so many instances you also shared with our students of things when you failed, when things didn't work out for you, when everybody sort of seemed to be on one side and you were on one side. How do you pull yourself up? What do you do to say, no, I will not cow down. I will not go down. I will stand up tall. What do you do? 1 or 2 or 3 tips or insights into that?
It's an excellent question. I can only say, Rajita, that it is easier said than done. there are moments of self-doubt, and there are tremendous moments of self-doubt. See, the gut instinct tells you, eventually shows you the way. I'll give you another example, Rajita. Once there were a lot of legal cases that were piled onto me after I fought these corruption cases. People see us on TV, Rajita. They don't, and to everyone, I'd like to say, people don't see the backstory. People see what is on air. Now, when all these corruption cases happened, the political forces filed a number of legal cases on me, and defamation cases. Hundreds of crores were filed, and you lose your job. I remember at that point of time, I was told by a politician came down to Mumbai, a sitting cabinet minister, and effectively told me to pay a bribe. Another person said that if you go and meet someone and apologize, it will be okay. And I remember one day when I was troubled, I was fighting these cases. I drove to the Congress Party office at 24 Akbar Road. I parked my car opposite the Congress Party office. I told my driver to go out, and I kept looking back at 24 Akbar Road. And I'll tell you why, Rajita. Because I started my career there. I used to keep standing there, and I said to myself, if I turn the clock back, and I remember the 22, 23-year-old who used to stand here 12 years back, 13 years back with a camera. How would he feel if an older version of the same person were to compromise? So I went back and I simply decided that I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to seek a solution. The solution will come. So I don't know, Rajita, but the simple answer to your question is, you go to yourself and you ask yourself, spend time with yourself, meditate, think, and don't react to what people are telling you to do. And one more thing, don't be affected by your peers. Don't be affected by other people, and don't seek acknowledgement from peers. Then you will find a way. So for me, in the difficult profession of journalism, sometimes where you are subject to pressures from all sides, that has been the way. Wow. which has shown me the way.
So well said again, Arnab. And you are saying, look within, meditate. This is very, very valuable, I think, advice to all students. And Arnab, I want to share with you that you will be very proud to know that we are probably the first university in the whole world, and I can safely make that claim, where all our students learn to meditate, all our faculty members meditate. And we are probably the only university in the world where in the first week, when we begin our academic year, our new students do it with the Art of Living course, where they learn the new meditation techniques, breathing techniques. Yeah. And our faculty members and the current students started with 2 days of silence in a silence retreat. It is unheard of.
I would like to do a silence retreat also.
Yes, Arnab, for sure. We should do it with you together. And I think for us, what resonates, and I'm seeing a lot of comments on the chat also, because you said so much about making your own way. Arnab, we are making our own way in education. We are competing with universities which are 300 and 400 years old. And we are wanting to do in 3 and 4 years what others have taken 3 and 4 decades to do. So that really resonates with us. And what you said today will help all of us, not just the students, all of us. Arnab, my next question to you is, you are a famous face. You have everybody knows you, and adulates you. You have a huge fan following. How do you handle all of that aspect of your life? How do you keep yourself grounded, centered? Because I can share this with everybody. Arnab, in this pandemic, Arnab, don't mind what I'm going to say. In this pandemic and the lockdown, Arnab, like all of us, I know, is doing his own chores at home, taking care of things at home. He says, in fact, it's keeping him fitter. So you are such a grounded person. How do you handle all that fame and still stay grounded?
I think, Rajita, the first most important thing about handling fame is to know that it is going to go away. And history is the best, history makes you humble. History makes you humble. Rajita, we are even the most famous people in the world have been shooting stars and specks for a while. So I think the critical thing is to know that fame will go away, riches will go away. And I think that when you tell yourself that more often, not out of a sense of insecurity, but out of a sense of awareness.
Very nice.
Most of us fear losing fame.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. We feel we will go on forever.
Yeah.
Nothing stays forever, Rajita. Neither youth nor fame nor riches.
Yeah.
And these are the things we are most attached to, right?
Yeah.
So I think that I enjoy my present, knowing that it will go away, and therefore that makes me have a more meaningful day.
Very nice.
So I whatever I'm doing at the moment, I link it to a larger cause, either towards the country or towards greater self-awareness.
Wow.
So I think that's a good way to handle it.
This is deep wisdom, Arnab, to stay in the present. Huh? That is really deep wisdom. In fact, as you know, we have a School of Journalism. We have a Master's in Journalism and Mass Comm program in Shishu University. And I think even the lessons you gave about your journalistic values, I think is, it has been Gurudev's vision that our school should be the, should be the bedrock of creating integral ethical journalists. So with that intention, we have started this school. And I think your address today will become a masterclass forever.
Thank you so much. I hope to take students from, we've already recruited some students from Sri University. I think we've taken some as interns, some as on our team, and I look forward to working with your journalism school more.
Yes. Arnab, few questions can I ask you to get one-word answers?
Please.
One-word answers?
One word.
One-word answers.
I'll try.
In my team, I'm famous and famous for asking for one-word reflections because I think sometimes in many words you can lose the thought, but one word makes it one word. Life.
Life is. I can't think of this. I'm very bad at this.
Anything that comes to you.
Life is to be lived, I think.
Okay. Because it's you, I allow you 2-3 more words also.
To be lived, yeah.
Okay. Happiness.
Well, happiness is not material.
Ah, very nice. Courage.
Courage is to be exhibited.
India.
India is the future.
Future.
Unpredictable.
The youth of India.
Untapped.
This is longer than one word. And your way to relax.
By anchoring my show.
Okay. Anchoring your show. Family.
Family is the bedrock.
Lastly, Sri University.
Sri University is remarkable. What you've achieved in a short time is remarkable. I mean, from what I hear of the scale that you've built is remarkable. It must have taken a lot of work to build it there. And I think what you're imparting is much more than education. I think that aspect of it, where you make people more emotionally connected also with each other and the country, is important. And you're imbibing cultural values at the same time, which I think it'll go a very long way. Very long.
Arnab, Gurudev gave 3 values for Sri University: learn, lead, and serve. So learn from the best source possible, without prejudice, without bias, so that you can become leaders of the world. You can lead in your own fields, so that you can serve. Leadership not complete in itself until you can serve back the community. And I think that is a huge value that unites us and I think, differentiates us from other educational institutions. And that is a little part of it which we will miss, the service part in the virtual world. But we are, yeah. Arnab, on behalf of the entire 3,000 plus students of Shri Shri University, all our faculty members, team members, everybody in our team, the entire Art of Living family, which has joined us now on this Zoom call virtually, all our seniors, a huge, huge, huge round of applause. And thank you to you for such an unbelievably inspiring address. Really
it was my great opportunity that I got to speak to so many hundreds of people at the same time. I am blessed with the power of, we are all blessed with the power of technology, and I'm blessed to have been given the opportunity to speak to young people at your university. I wish them and their families all the best, and I hope that you make a big difference to this country.